For the longest time, I thought blaming myself for everything meant I was responsible. Mature, self-aware, I was wrong. It wasn't a strength, it was a trap, and my brain had fallen into it, completely. I remember replaying conversations at 2 a.m., picking apart every word I said, every reaction I gave, convinced that if something went wrong, I must have caused it, even when I knew somewhere deep down that it had nothing to do with me. I just couldn't stop, and I didn't understand why. That continued till I discovered there's a specific cognitive distortion, a thinking error, that made me believe I was responsible for everything that happens around me, even things I couldn't control. And it wasn't my fault. I had it. It's how my brain learned to survive. Stick with me, because once I saw this trap, I never blamed myself unfairly again. Let's begin with the moment I finally understood what was happening to me, beginning with Step 1. I learned what personalization actually is. We can't talk about cognitive personalization without referencing Aaron Beck, founder of cognitive behavioral therapy, who identified personalization as one of the most common cognitive errors. The tendency to blame yourself for events outside your control, or to interpret neutral situations as personal attacks. Here's what personalization cognitive distortion looked like in my life. My sister canceled our lunch, and my brain immediately went on overdrive and created a narrative. She doesn't value our relationship. I'm not important to her. I must have done something wrong. It later turns out that she canceled the lunch because she had a migraine. I realized I was personalizing others' actions constantly, making myself the center of everyone's universe in the most painful way possible. Every neutral event became evidence of my inadequacy. Every negative outcome is traced back to me somehow. Understanding thought traps started with recognizing this pattern. Personalization wasn't about being self-centered. It was about distorted thinking that created emotional distress from personalization. My therapist helped me see that this cognitive bias in daily life was learned, not permanent, and what's learned can be unlearned. Step 2. I discovered my challenge was from childhood patterns. Growing up, I learned to monitor my mother's moods obsessively. If she was upset, I needed to know why so I could fix it. Usually, I concluded it was my fault. This created a neural pathway. Negative emotion around me equals I caused it, I must fix it. Carl Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. My personalization wasn't random, it had roots. This insight was transformative. My why I take things personally had an answer because I wasn't inherently flawed. I was running an outdated survival program from childhood. Healing from distorted beliefs required acknowledging this origin story without staying stuck in it. I couldn't change my past, but I could rewire my present responses. Understanding that my personalization bias in CBT terms was a learned protective mechanism helped me approach it with compassion rather than judgment. This wasn't about blaming my parents. It was more about recognizing patterns so I could develop objective thinking instead of reactive personalization. Step 3. I learned to challenge automatic thoughts. Before we continue, I want to honor anyone who's made it this far. Breaking the personalization cycle takes courage because it requires questioning thoughts that feel absolutely true. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Cognitive restructuring personalization meant learning to pause between the event and the interpretation. I started using what CBT calls the evidence test. Anytime my brain screamed, "This is my fault," I'd ask, what's the actual evidence this is about me? What evidence contradicts this thought? What would I tell a friend in this situation? Am I mind-reading or fortune-telling? Example, my boss seemed distant during our meeting. Old thought, he's disappointed in me, I'm underperforming. Evidence test. What facts support this? He seemed distracted. That's it. Alternative explanations could be that he's stressed about the quarterly review. He's dealing with personal issues. He's just having an off day. This process of how to challenge personalization thoughts felt awkward initially. But like any skill, it improved with practice. I was developing mind management techniques that created space between trigger and reaction. Step 4. I practiced separating self from event. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." Learning to separate self from event became my most powerful tool. I created a mental framework. Event my interpretation, reality check. My friend group chat went silent after I shared an opinion. Event, silence. My interpretation, they think I'm stupid, they're uncomfortable, I ruined the conversation. Here is a reality check. The conversation naturally ended. Someone's kid needed attention. They were busy. The silence had nothing to do with my worth or intelligence. This practice of cognitive restructuring personalization meant recognizing that not everything orbited around me. Sometimes, most times, other people's behaviors reflected their internal states, not my values. I started journaling examples of personalization cognitive distortion. Colleague didn't say good morning? Must be mad at me. Reality check. He could probably be on an urgent call. Partner seemed stressed equals, I'm not supportive enough. Reality check. He might be working on a work deadline. Friend declined invitation. Doesn't want to spend time with me. Reality check. He may have had a prior commitment. Seeing these patterns on paper revealed how consistently I made everything about me. Step 5. I embraced self-compassion over self-blame. I realized stopping self-blame required a radical shift. When I caught myself personalizing, instead of thinking, why am I so stupid? Why can't I just be normal? Which is personalization about my personalization distortion. I'd practice self-compassion for personalization. This is a learned pattern. I'm working on it. It makes sense I'd struggle given my history. I'm doing my best. This felt revolutionary. Overcoming shame and guilt, personalization meant meeting my cognitive distortions with gentleness, not punishment. The irony is that self-compassion made me less defensive and more open to changing my thought patterns and personalization. I wasn't excusing the distortion anymore. I was creating conditions where change could happen. You can't shame yourself into better mental health. Trust me, I tried for decades. Therapy for personalization taught me this crucial lesson. Healing requires kindness, not criticism. Step 6. I developed objective thinking strategies. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." My imagination was working overtime, creating elaborate personalized narratives that caused immense emotional distress. I started practicing what CBT calls decatastrophizing and examining the evidence. When personalization thoughts arose, I'd use these reframing strategies. The percentage test. What percentage is this actually about me? Usually less than 20%. The friend test. What would I tell my best friend if she had this thought? I'd never say, yes, you ruined everything. I'd offer perspective. The time test. Will this matter in 5 years? Rarely. The alternative explanations test. What are 3 explanations that aren't about me? I'd force myself to generate them. These mind management techniques created cognitive flexibility. I was training my brain to consider multiple interpretations instead of defaulting to personalization. How to reframe personalization thoughts became my daily practice, not just something I did in crisis. Step 7. I recognized the freedom in "it's not about me." According to Pema Chodron, ego is like a room of your own, a room with a view, with the temperature and the smells and the music that you like. My personalization was my ego's prison. Everything filtered through, how does this affect me? The breakthrough came when I realized, if everything isn't about me, I'm not responsible for everything. What immense freedom. From that breakthrough moment, I began to see my coworkers' criticism as information about their perspective, not a verdict on my worth. I began to see my friends' cancellation as their life circumstances, not my importance. Also, it led me to see my partner's mood as a reflection of their internal experience, not my failure. This shift, which involves improving mental health personalization by releasing the burden of being everyone's center, was liberating. Escaping the blame game meant accepting that I'm not powerful enough to cause everyone's emotions and reactions. Recognizing cognitive distortions, particularly personalization, gave me back my life. I could engage with feedback without collapsing, navigate relationships without constant anxiety, exist without monitoring everyone's moods as evidence of my worth. Conclusion. As we close this chapter, I want to be honest. I still catch myself personalizing sometimes. This journey of managing cognitive distortions doesn't always mean you'll be perfect. It can point to gradual progress that'll set you free from self-blame. What changed isn't that I never personalize. What changed is that I recognize it quickly, challenge it effectively, and return to reality faster. These 7 insights transformed my emotional freedom from personalization. In the comments below, share your experience with personalization cognitive distortion. What helps you stop believing everything is about you? Which breakthrough resonated most? Let's support each other in this journey of self-help for cognitive distortions. Don't forget to share this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell for wisdom that transforms if you're committed to conquering the personalization trap.